Hi everybody, this is Stephanie with Hilltop Clay. Today we are going to learn how I make the jewelry dishes. Here's a couple of examples. So first what we start out with is a slab of clay. A slab of clay is just clay that has been rolled out to a determined thickness. Additionally, we'll be using a metal rib that helps us smooth the clay. We also have textures that we can add to any of the jewelry dishes to make it your own. And also a filing knife, which I use to cut out the shape of the jewelry dish. A nice flat sponge that helps me smooth the edges and make the edges look nice. So, first what we do, we're going to grab our metal rib and we're going to smooth our clay. It's very nice to start out with a nice smooth surface so that the textures that we choose show up. So it gets worked out once we add more texture. I'll flip it over and smooth out again because we want both sides to be a blank canvas for us. Unless you like the texture, then you get to leave it because if it's your project, you get to do what you want. And I have cats that lay on my canvas mats, so the cat hair is free. One of my favorite things to do with these jewelry dishes is use these doilies, these lace doilies. They have just the best texture. So what I'll do, flatten it out on here. Use this little roller. I don't know if these are called pasta rollers or whatever, but I found it at Goodwill. So. And then we're just gonna roll this in until we start to see the clay come up in between the holes. So then we know we've got the texture in there. Roll out so we don't get too many wrinkles. Best parts of this is when we pull it back up. Pull it up. So pretty. Next, we'll grab our filing knife, or this is called a needle tool. Either of these things will work. I like this because it leaves less marks, either in my tabletop or my trays here. So then I just get to decide where and how big and what size and shape that I want my jewelry dish. What's fun is that you can make it kind of basically any shape you want because it's more of an organic form. So I'm going to start with this shape right here. Pull it up gently, and then what I'm going to want to do is just kind of smooth out and make this edges look a little bit more natural so it doesn't look like a cut edge anymore. You can smooth it with your finger, squeeze it a little bit, pat it down, whatever you want to do to give it the kind of texture that you want it to have. And then you just want to curl up your edges gently without squishing your texture too much. However much you want your edges to come up, whatever kind of shape you want it to have. You want it to have a bunch of waves in it, do you. So it's just going to sit just nice like that. And then I would just let that dry. Other things that I can do, we have about 8 acres out here. So I like to gather things from nature. This is called Queen Anne's lace. It's just a plant that grows out here like crazy. So for something like this, I would want to cut my shape from the blank part. And again, I can make it whatever shape, whatever size that I want to. So first what I'll do is cut my shape. This over here. And with this, I can just push it on there. Just get it started with my finger because it'll stick to the clay. And then gently use my roller. And then I'll just pull it back out. And that makes such a pretty texture. And what I do is then I put a stain that goes inside these lines and it will highlight it. So that's really fun. And also these grass textures that go to seed for us. These are really fun to do on jewelry dishes. I did them on Christmas ornaments this year too. And any of the plant stuff that gets stuck in there really isn't a big deal because the kiln fires to a couple of thousand degrees, it burns right out. And it doesn't affect the kiln at all. And then again, I will just go back and tidy up my edges. And the next day, once these have firmed up a bit more, I'll probably go back in and go over my edges again, and that's what I would use this for. I'll go back and smooth these edges. It does a really good job of making it look more natural. And if I want to adjust the shape any more the next day, if it's not too dry, I can adjust the shape a little bit more as well. There's one more nature themed one. And with the underglaze in there, with the stain inside, those textures it's going to look really pretty. Other things that you can use to make your textures is I've got all kinds of stamps that I have here at the studio. I really like mandalas, and this is just a fabric stamp I got at a fabric store actually. These work really well in clay. Just press down evenly. It comes right out. It makes a nice little mark. This one I like to use on like a little bit smaller jewelry dishes, or even I know people will use them to put their spent tea bags from when they brew their tea. They'll have this little dish next to them so that they can just set it on there. You just use whatever texture you can imagine. The edges look nice. Curve it up. Hold whatever it is you think you might want to hold with it. That's it. Pretty simple. So once your jewelry dish has dried enough, it'll go through the kiln the first time, and that's when this clay that looks gray will turn white like this over the first firing. It goes up to about 2,000 degrees. That makes the clay porous enough so that when you add glaze to it, the moisture absorbs and the glaze adheres. For texture like this, like with this, I have a stain that goes inside the texture, so it will highlight the texture, and then this has a clear glaze then on top of that. This one also has the stain. This is done with the lace doily, so it has the black in the stain into the texture, and then I put a purple glaze on top, and then when you fire it, it makes it all shiny like this. This one also goes through with an additional firing for this gold, so I'll paint the gold on the outside and fire it a third time, and that gives it that really fun accent.